there and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing the Why I Am Still Catholic tag. I believe this was started by What Laura Likes here on YouTube, and then a few other Catholic YouTubers have done this tag. I know Everyday Catholic has done it, and then A Catholic Home Life, and probably some more. If I come across them, I will add them below. But I saw this several months ago and I added it to my list of videos I wanted to do someday, and then just hadn't gotten to it yet. And then in the past few weeks, with all the Catholic Church stuff in the media, I thought, what better of a time to do this tag than now? So I thought I would do it, and the tag is very simple. It's just one question. If you were born and raised Catholic, which I was, why are you still Catholic? As I said, I am a cradle Catholic, meaning I was brought up Catholic by my parents. My dad was born and raised Catholic, and then my mom was a Catholic convert. So growing up, they both raised me to be Catholic, and that was really all that I knew. A lot of people on my mom's side of the family are Protestant, so I did have a little bit of Protestant background just in being around them. But I was brought up Catholic overall. We went to Mass every Sunday, and everything that I knew correlated with Catholic Church teaching. My parents divorced when I was 3 years old, and then my mom remarried when I was 6, and my stepdad was Catholic. So all of my parental influences were Catholic growing up. And so going through life, I went to public school. And in public schools, they don't teach you your religion, so generally what happens, depending on your diocese, is you have these religion classes. Some people call them CCD or PSR, but I went to those every week growing up, and that's where I learned about the faith from a more formal perspective at my church. And growing up, I had a lot of fun doing that, just mostly for social reasons. And I always loved God, always just had that childlike sweetness, you know, where you just, you learn about God and you know He's good, and you say your prayers at night, and it's just a very pure and sweet, loving thing. And then as I started getting older, I saw more influences, particularly friends, but then you'd hear adults speaking sometimes too, but mostly friends. And the whole idea of church, religion, Christianity, anything was totally uncool, okay? And so I, being a little girl who just wanted to fit in and be accepted by my peers, I followed that mentality a lot. And so even though I had my strong faith on the inside, when I was in group settings, I didn't really want to talk about it, or I didn't want to feel the way that I felt about my faith just because it wasn't cool. But that's childhood. So skipping ahead, as time went on, I was in high school, and I started struggling a lot. I did not like high school. It was a really rough, difficult time for me in so many ways. And one issue that I had was that I did not drink, and then, I just had my Catholic faith and morals and beliefs, and all of those types of beliefs didn't coincide with what everybody else was doing or a part of. And I just found it really hard to fit in and to relate to people, and I couldn't find my place, you know, so it was very difficult. So anyway, so going through, I got to the point where I just felt really lonely. I didn't have a lot of friends that were close friends. I felt I had a lot of situations that happened where people were excluding me, or I just felt like we weren't connecting. And so my mom recommended that I get more involved in church and in a youth group. And so I said, well, yeah, I could try that, okay. So I started getting a little bit more involved in my parish youth group. And I think I shared this story in the book club series, but this was really how my faith happened in my adult life. So I was a teenager in high school, maybe about a sophomore, and I started getting more involved in our parish youth group, which was mostly just volunteer work at the time. And so we had this event, senior prom, but it was senior citizen prom. So basically the idea was that it was kind of like a prom style, but with senior citizens. And so we went down to this place to always volunteer and meet with the seniors in a nursing home that didn't have a lot of family members nearby, that type of thing. So anyway, so in advance, I thought about it and I thought, oh, I wonder if we are supposed to dress up for this event. So I called one of the girls who was going and I said, hey, are we supposed to dress up or is this a casual thing? And she goes, oh no, it's just casual, I'm wearing jeans. And I said, okay, but I kind of felt like normally it was a very casual event, but this was a little more formal. So I thought, well, just to be on the safe side, I am going to wear just a summer dress. So not too fancy, but also not jeans. So then I arrived there at the church and we were all gonna drive together. And we're all in a group in a big circle. And a bunch of these girls all had on their homecoming dresses and they were very formal, and I was a little bit underdressed in my casual sundress, and the guys were wearing nicer outfits. And you know, it was kind of weird because I had talked to all these people all day. They made it seem like it was casual, and then I had literally called the one girl on the phone, not even an hour before, and then somehow she got the memo that you were supposed to dress up. So anyway, I confronted her on it and I said, hey, you said that we were just going to wear jeans. What happened? And she goes, oh, right after I got off the phone with you, I talked to so-and-so and she said everybody was dressing up. And so I kind of thought, oh, well, gee, thanks for cluing me in and letting me know. So then as we were in our small group, I quoted a verse from scripture where basically they were talking about how, look at the lilies of the field, God takes care of them. Therefore, do not worry about what you eat or about your life, what you eat, what you drink, how you dress. You know, God's gonna take care of you. So I was kind of kidding around, and I had just recently read that verse and I knew it word for word exactly how it was said in the Bible. So I said that kind of like just to make light of the situation in the group. And everybody looked at me completely, it was so funny. Everybody was completely puzzled. And then I thought, oh, maybe they don't realize it's from the Bible. And so I said, oh, like in the Bible. Matthew, anyone? No, but so I said that, and the youth minister looked at me and said, you read the Bible? And then I said, yeah. She goes, oh. And then it kind of got quiet and awkward. And then some of my friends were like, oh, Kenzie, you're so funny. Ah, ha, ha. That's so cute. You read the Bible. And then we continued on and started loading up and going to the event. And I just felt so left out, like I am literally at a youth group event through my church, and people think it's strange that I read the Bible. And it's a foreign concept to them. Even the youth minister was totally like, you do that? It was very bizarre. And she's since not a youth minister anymore. But, so then I just thought, okay, whatever, it's gonna be a good day. So we get in the car and we start heading out to this place, and they're blaring, the people I was in the car with were blaring this rap music that had terribly vulgar lyrics. And I'm a fan of rap, well, I was at the time, but this stuff was like very vulgar. It wasn't just, the popular hits that you hear on the radio, even that's pretty vulgar, but what I was hearing was just even worse. And then on top of that, people were talking and just very gossipy, and there was just a lot of swearing and drama. And then we went to the event. It was fun. It was fine. Everybody was really nice. But as I was there, I just didn't have a peace about me, because I thought, okay, these people are all Catholic. And this is not at all how I want to be, how I believe in being. And even a lot of the stuff they were saying wasn't even Catholic in nature at all. And I was so upset. I came home, I think I even cried. And my mom asked me how everything was. Did you make new friends? They were all the same people at school, the same people I was having a lot of issues with, and I was upset. So my mom suggested maybe I need to try a Protestant church. And I thought about it because I did know some people who were in Protestant youth groups that seemed to be a little more wholesome than my Catholic friends. And I thought, she's got a point. But then I thought, you know what? Like, I don't believe in anything that the Protestants really believe. There's just no substance to it. It's not my true belief. There's no real presence in the Eucharist. I'd feel so uncomfortable putting myself in that environment for the sake of making friends. And so I just thought, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to live my life lonely, sad, and miserable. And then I started becoming a little bit mad at the church because I'm thinking, this is a place where they're supposed to raise good people, especially at this time of life when you're in high school, to not do anything, to not encourage good behavior, good actions, and lifestyle choices was just crazy to me. So I just kind of brushed it off, and I just thought, you know what, I have my faith. It's just going to be my personal thing. I'm not going to worry about friends. It's just, this is how it is. I mentioned all of this to my dad as well. And so he was at Starbucks one time, and he ran into some lady, and they kind of got to talking. And she said that there was a really good Catholic parish not too far from us, but a little bit further out of the way. And they had this really great, very vibrant youth group that I should try. So long story short, they got in contact with the youth minister to contact my dad to try to get me to come. And when I first went to this parish, I remember I went to a Life Teen Mass, because it was a Life Teen youth group program. And afterwards I said, Dad, are you sure this is a Catholic church? He said, yeah. And I said, but it didn't seem Catholic at all. Everyone was so nice. And everybody came up to me, gave me hugs. They were so welcoming and kind. And it was completely foreign to me to see that in a church, just how dynamic it was. So anyway, I was coerced by the youth minister there to go to a Life Teen retreat that they were hosting a few weeks later. And I remember on the day of the retreat, I did not want to go. I was going to do everything I could to try to call and cancel at the last minute. And it was snowy. It was just cold. I just wanted to stay home. I didn't want to sleep in a cabin for 2 nights. And I was thinking of every excuse in the book to not go to this thing. But I told myself, you know what? If I don't go, I'm literally going to be sitting in my room alone, eating ice cream, feeling sorry for myself all weekend. If I go, at least I did something over the weekend instead of just being alone. So why not? So I went to this retreat, and I didn't know one person there. So it was a little bit awkward. You're a teenager, everything's awkward. And I didn't know anyone. I was kind of quiet and shy. So I mostly just observed the whole time. And on this retreat, 2 things happened to me that were really powerful, I guess. So number 1 is, at one point, as much as I enjoyed being there, I did feel very lonely and awkward and uncomfortable because everybody else knew each other and went to school together, and I didn't know anybody. And I wasn't very good at being open to making conversation with people, so I was kind of like one of those people who just sat there and stuff. And I felt very uncomfortable and lonely. And I remember at this one point I was sitting there, and I kind of looked around, and everybody's laughing and giggling and joking just during downtime. And I thought, I am the saddest person here. And it was just part of my misery of high school. I just felt so lonely on a million levels. And right after that thought had come through my head, and then we were just sitting and they were starting up the next activity up on the stage, they decided to start with prayer. And whoever was up there said, "And now we just want to take a moment to pray for the one person here who needs our prayers the most." And it was one of those moments where I knew that was me. Like, absolutely without a doubt, like, that was me. But so I prayed too for whoever needed the prayers the most. And all of a sudden I just felt this rush of love. It was absolutely like that. I was that person in that room who needed them. And then shortly after that, they did this like drawing for a Matt Maher CD. He's a Christian singer, and I had never heard his music until that weekend, and I was very touched by a lot of his songs. And so right then they said, "Okay, now we're gonna do this drawing and somebody's gonna win a CD." And I remember trying to like remember what the guy's name was, so when I went home I could look him up and download some songs on iTunes. But I won the CD, and so it was just a really cool moment to me. And I know it could have been coincidental, but it was very powerful, and I just got very inspired by that moment and just feeling this sense of hope and like things would be okay. So moving on, the next thing that happened was throughout this retreat, everybody kept talking about how on Saturday night was adoration, and they were so excited about it. Many of these people had been on the retreats before, and I hadn't. And I had never heard of adoration of the Blessed Sacrament ever. I mean, never heard of that or any kind of veneration. And I was born and raised Catholic. I just thought the Eucharist was at church, and that's that. And so everybody was just talking about how cool it was gonna be, and crazy, and music, and all this stuff. And I kind of started getting skeptical because I'm thinking, like, what are these people all hyped up about? I don't understand. So anyway, so we go. Finally, Saturday night rolls around. There was confession and a lot of really powerful speakers. And then it was time for this adoration. And everybody said, Jesus is going to be right there with us. And I'm thinking, okay, this is odd. I don't really understand. So we get into the room where the Blessed Sacrament was in the monstrance, this gold shiny thing. And I mean, there were people, and everybody was praising in their own way. There was music going, so it was nice. But some people were, kneeling on the ground. Some people had their hands in the air. It was a very dynamic environment and something very foreign to me. I was never around any kind of charismatic prayer people ever, and I've never really been into the charismatic movement. And I have just more of a private prayer life. So I walked in and I'm just thinking, okay, these people are weird, number one. Number two, like, this is just too much, I don't know the right word, like pomp and circumstance. Is that the phrase? But it was just too much action for me, I guess. And I just felt like it almost was as if, not that they were making it up, but it just seemed a little too hyped up, I guess. So I just looked around and thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit in this, pew right here and just sit and wait this out. The retreat's gonna be over tomorrow, and then I can go home and listen to my Matt Maher CD and pray by myself. Cool. So I sit down on this bench, looking around like these people are kind of crazy. But I'm just gonna clear it out and just kind of sit here and pray and hope that it's almost time to go to bed. So I sat down and just thought, okay, I'll take this time to pray instead of sitting here staring at all these people wondering what's wrong with them. And I had such a powerful experience in that moment. It's very hard to explain. Part of it is deeply personal, but basically it was the moment in my life where I truly knew Jesus was in the Eucharist. And I mean, it was literally like his physical presence was right there. And it's just the whole experience that I had is very difficult to put into words, but that was the moment where undeniably I knew Jesus was alive. He was here, he was physical, and not just this historic figure or person that's cool or this outer worldly God, but he was here, and he loves us and loves me, and on this personal physical level. And I just basically I was shocked at what had happened. And so anyway, the retreat ended, and sometimes they say after you go and have a very spiritual experience, you have this like Jesus high where you're really excited. And I definitely had that. I remember going back to school the next Monday and walking around so happy and excited and overjoyed, and just I wanted to share the news with everyone, and I just wanted everybody to see what God has done in my life and have them feel this way too. And I remember walking down this particular hallway in my school, and I was so happy, and somebody came up to me and said, "You seem different." And I said, "I know, I went to this retreat, it was amazing, you should come to my church." And as I looked around the school and to the people I was talking to, they just seemed so cold in a way, or just, okay, they just seemed cold about it. So anyway, from that point on, my entire life changed. And I started becoming a lot more involved in the church, a lot more passionate about specific topics. And at the time, there was a major presidential election, and the topic of abortion was really big in the news, and just a lot of faith-based things seemed to be brought up during that election season. And I was very vocal about my views and my faith, and my views were not the popular view. So it was difficult being around young kids who had completely different beliefs than I did. But it was a good time for me to have my faith challenged in so many ways, and to be able to process what I truly believe and don't believe, and be able to think for myself instead of just what my parents say to think or what they believe and just blindly following them. So I started to develop my own beliefs and being able to defend my faith better, and learn how, when I did have a question regarding a moral issue, how to research to find the answer on why the church teaches what it teaches. Moving on, I really did not end up ever having much better of a high school experience. My senior year, I went full-time to a college. That way I didn't have to be right in the school. And I ended up meeting some different friends who were very into their faith and involved in church, and that helped me again with the development of my spiritual life. And it continued through college. When I went off to a school, I connected with a lot of friends who helped build my faith to what it became. And while I still experienced a lot of depression and mental health issues and loneliness through that time, it was God who kept me strong and who got me through it, and we got to where I became. And so after I graduated college, I was kind of at a weird place. I didn't have a boyfriend, I wasn't married, I didn't have any major career goals despite having a degree, and I had gotten really sick in college with mono, and so I was still healing from that. And so I just kind of took a break, tried to relax, and then I ended up getting involved with the Life Teen program at my parish as a core member. So basically I was an adult planning the nights with the group, and then there were teenagers who we taught the faith to and had different activities for, and that was an amazing experience that brought me so much joy and wonderful things. And that's where I met my husband. He was also involved in our planning core team, and that's how we ended up meeting and connecting. And because we met through church, but also being so heavily involved in that program, we were able to start our relationship on a very good, holy Catholic note. And that was the best thing for both of us. And just everything about meeting him was so God-given. And it was, just the circumstances of leading up to how it all happened, and just everything was so beautifully planned. But I had such a difficult time trusting that God was going to provide a spouse for me, because from day one, pretty much, of my memories, I wanted to get married and have kids. All through my life, wanted to get married and have kids. And I think that's why I struggled so much with a lot of depression issues, because that wasn't happening for me. Obviously, you need to have a spouse to have kids, but I wasn't meeting anybody. Anyway, that leads to today. Why am I still Catholic despite all the stuff going on in the media? Well, number one, the Eucharist, the real presence of Jesus. In other faiths, the bread and wine are symbols of God, but in the church, we believe that Jesus's words are made flesh. The word was made flesh. So literally, he spoke the word, and the bread and wine become flesh. And it's not symbolic or cutesy, but it is really Jesus, his physical presence. Do we understand it? No, it's a mystery. We don't fully understand, and we can't fully comprehend it, and it's okay to have that mystery. There's a lot of things in life that we don't know the specific answers to, and that's what I love about the church, is that they acknowledge that some things are just simply a mystery, and we're not going to have all the answers right now when we want them. If you have any more specific questions for me regarding my faith, or maybe why I believe what I believe, leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to make a video answering some of those for you, if there are any questions. Thank you for watching, and I would love to hear your story if you grew up a cradle Catholic, why you are still Catholic now.